Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Giradhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinoda. Dear friends, dear Mahabharata lovers, before I start this little talk, I want to praise Lord Shri Krishna Chaitanya, who brought Hare Krishna Maha Mantra chanting, who is Krishna himself by coming in the age of Kali to liberate fallen soul from ignorance. And I'd like to start from a very interesting mantra which we chant every day. Om Agyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in ignorance. By the grace of Guru, by the light of knowledge, I achieve my divine vision, and now I can see things as they are. So what does that really mean? That really means without divine knowledge that comes through the Guru, you cannot really understand God, this world. As much as the scientists and philosophers are seeking to realize how this world is appear, how it disappear, they have very partial knowledge. But the ego is being so proud about, oh, I know her, I'm the person that know everything. But really, even if you look at the great philosophers and great scientists, they've learned science and philosophy from somebody else. They've learned from their teachers. They also expand this knowledge, which tells us that any kind of knowledge has to be dynamic, whether it be material knowledge or divine. So therefore, we in the Vedic tradition see spiritual knowledge is to be dynamic, and the way it progresses, it transforms to the mind and heart of a seeker. And therefore, it's appearing a great quality. Just like, let's say, honey. As long as you hold the honey, is more tasty it's become. So, as the heart of seeker, as more knowledge comes to that heart, it's more revelation. It's coming true, such as meditation, spiritual exchange, spiritual talks. Study different commentaries of different sages, so that this knowledge has become very substantial by constantly scrolling through the mind and heart, from the soul to the mind, from the mind to the soul, from the soul to the mind, from the mind to the soul. Isn't it interesting? It's very interesting. So today we're talking about Mahabharata. As you all know, our app, Mahabharata, Gods and Heroes. We have one part which really, I would say, a side story of Mahabharata, but quite important. Why? Because you'll find a story of Jadamagni, a great sage, and his son, who is more famous, is Parashuram. So Parashuram is a very unique character. As we all know, Brahmins are the priests and the prayers. But sometimes Brahmins appears also as a great martial artist. Like, for instance, we know Kung Fu, which is technically Kalari Payatu, which was brought by Indian monk Bodhikarma from South India to China. So he brought all the knowledge of martial art, there are so many ancient martial arts in India. Kalari Payatu, one of them. There's Gatka from the Sikhs, and maybe hundreds of different names of different fighting traditions. So as a monk, he learned martial arts to defeat himself, and he came to China, and he's been teaching a Chinese of Kung Fu. But his original idea was not to come to China to teach martial arts. He was epidemiologist doctor. He also realized that the ships from China with the silk and spices coming to trade to India, and they bring a disease. And that disease can spread to India and kill many people. So the flu or coronavirus, it's not like a new thing. So as a doctor, epidemiologist, he went to China to stop this source of disease in China. And meanwhile, in his journey, he had to many times use martial arts. Finally, the disease was stopped, but he's become so famous for being a great martial artist teacher. But in China, they like to copy things, and they like to do very precise, because Chinese are great students. So they learn all the fighting styles and perfect them, And it's become Kung Fu, world famous. But you should know, it all came from India. It all came from the divine tradition, because gods been teaching fighting arts to sages, and sages been teaching fighting arts to different kshatriyas, the warriors, to protect dharma. However, the warriors learning martial arts and achieving power had become very arrogant. So therefore, you need somebody to adjust them. And so there's a story we're going to talk today is about Parashuram. So the way Parashuram born is very interesting, because his father, Jadak Agni, who's like a very, very powerful sage, was actually being kind of cursed in the beginning. The way he was cursed, because the Richika Muni, who's been his father, produced special sacred yagya elixir, which is supposed to be given to two women, the mother and the daughter, and both of them were supposed to have a child. But one been giving the kshatriya elixir and one been giving the brahminical elixir. So they kind of switch and change and mix. So what happened is the great sage said, well, you actually mix my gifts, therefore your son will be a great warrior that will destroy so many people. Then she said, no, I don't really want that. I want my son to be a brahmana. He said, okay, I'm changing my curse. Your son will be born as Jadamagni, a great sage, but his son will be a great warrior, and he will destroy all the kshatriyas. So that was the destiny. So if you really look at how the Vedic culture worked, there's always blessings or curses, and there's always destiny. So why does it happen? It's very interesting, because right now some people say in conspiracy theory that, oh, they spread this coronavirus to control people through chipization, digital control, and they also want to cut population of people. My question is like, who are they? Who are they? They're not gods. The people that are in charge of the world right now, they're more like demons. They're more like, look like demons, asuras, and political costumes, especially the Western civilization. There's so much uncovered lies going on. Yeah, that possibly the demons are always taking birth and always trying to sneak into politics and religion and try to change human, policies to bring atheism, wars. And don't think it only happens right now. It's the whole history of material world. It happens millennium after millennium after millennium. There's always demons that are trying to take over the universe. Therefore, Krishna say, yada yada hi dharmasya bhavan bhavati bharata abhutanama dharmasya sprihami namami aham. So I am coming every millennium after millennium to stop those demons, to bring the dharma. And, I come in different forms because Krishna has so many avatars. So Parashurama, obviously, is not just some kind of a brahmana birth child with incredible skills. No. He is the Supreme Lord himself that take a special birth as a brahmana family, because the brahmanas are very strict to the dharma, to the rules of religion. But his power of kshatriya, because you see, like if you come to somebody and say, hey guys, I'm really praying to you, please be a nice person, please be kind. They're like very powerful. They say, oh, get out of here, get out of here. Who are you, boy? Slap. I'm a great warrior. But it's a different story with Parashuram. And the story begins that he fulfilled desire of his father. So today we're talking about guru and father. So it says in scripture, if you can fulfill desire of your father, of your teacher, you'll be glorious. So what happened was Parashuram's mother was named Renuka, and she was a wife of Jadamagni, who was a great sage. So obviously, he had a very, very austere life, and, he had several children, and Parashuram was younger. God knows many. We know like the older and younger, and there may be 10, 15, we don't know how many. So but he lived a life of ascetic. So sometimes his wife were supposed to bring water for sacrifice. And sacrifice according astrology, the moon, sun, you have to start at a particular auspicious time. So he said, rush to the river, get water as soon as possible. So she rushed to the river, and what did she saw at the river? In this beautiful forest where they lived, there were many rivers and waterfalls, and obviously it was so nice. And she saw a Gandharva, king playing with apsaras. And obviously that was sexual play, but, Gandharvas and apsaras, there naturally has tendency for free senses. However, the Brahminical caste has very, very sense control culture, because they do perform mystic yoga, meditation. They should control senses by their dharma. But Gandharvas, they're living on another plane. They're beyond humans, so they're like free. As we say, like you want to be hippie, become a Gandharva, like free love. So they're doing free love pastimes and maybe drinking some kind of a mystical drinks, like not like humans wine, but some kind of intoxication substance. And she's like, oh my God, this entity is having such a wonderful time. Like, they're having erotic exchange and they're listening to music. And so she's basically hide and look at their Gandharva party. But finally, as she was sucked into this material activity, she forgot everything about her husband, waiting her with water for the sacrifice. So finally, after some time, she's like grabbing the water, running. But remember, her father is like mystic yogi. He's totally in his mind and his meditation understand, okay, my wife stepped out of dharmic duty and she's pollute her mind through enjoyment, and that's the worst thing for yogi. So he said to his older son, he said, you have to kill your mom right now. You're like, what? Killing mom? He said to elder son, you have to kill your mom right now. And like, oh, I can't do it. Then he said to other sons, who will carry my order? I'm your father and I'm your guru. And they're like, oh. And only Parashurama immediately jump and kill the mother. And then father said, kill the sons because they useless. And he killed them all. Now you say, why? How is it possible? He's like yogi, holy man, sage, very moral person. And finally, he's going into that crazy mood. First of all, you have to understand, every story, there's some reason. And this story also has many, many reasons, which I'm now will open to you in a very secret way. Just listen carefully. So, by nature, kshatriyas are very cool-headed people. In other words, kshatriyas, if you can make them angry, they can still smile at you and like, hello, and in their heart, they will never forget that. That's even says in scriptures. The kshatriyas, they can act cool and pleasant and humble, but really, if they're angry at you, they will revenge. Like they will hold this until they leave. The Brahmanas are a different story. So Brahmanas by nature have sadguna, like soft qualities of the heart. But when some injustice coming to their heart, they can be hot-headed. And they can express emotions by the injustice. So kshatriyas, if they see injustice, they can be diplomat. But the Brahmanas, they cannot be diplomatic. They don't like diplomacy. They're like boiled their mind and hey, there's the rules of dharma and you're breaking that and you have to be punished. But Janamagni suffered for that case. He got himself killed by that karma. But there's so much wisdom in the Vedic story, so don't take this as some kind of a situation which you can apply in your mind in today's society. You can't do it. It's a different people, it's a different time, it's a different wisdom. However, the ideas of kshatriyas can be solved but they still can stab you in the back. It's very common days today. You can see how political leaders do. They never forgive anybody. They're always trying to revenge. And the Brahmanas are maybe hot-headed people, but they're like for the truth. They're not for themselves. So Jadamagni said, hey, you broke spiritual principles. You went into, kama, you pollute your mind. You should give up your body because it's polluted. And you actually, by doing that, breaking the sacred sacrifice. You did not bring the water. So, you would say, well, it's too much. But as I said again, we're talking about ancient story of thousands and thousands of years. So we can't even understand people from 100 years ago, what to speak about thousands of years. However, when Rama did this killing, he prayed to his father, Father, please calm down, please, I'm fulfill your wish. You should now fulfill mine. So father came down, he said, of course, son, I should fulfill yours, so what is your wish? He said, I want you to your yogic power to bring back to my mother, bring back to all the sons that I just killed, and make them forget everything. Jadamagni said, yes, it's a good idea, because now we're a little calm down, now we're a little peace. Okay, I understand, I also done something wrong. You follow me, son, you're a very good, loyal son. I'm doing this as a blessing to you. So finally, everybody wake up and it's like, hey, we were sleeping, was it good? And Parshuram was very, very happy because to fulfill wish of his father and his guru, now he saved his mother, his brothers, and his father also happy. See, sometimes that's the only way to resolve things. But you have to have wisdom. Finally, there was a great warrior, Kartavirya Arjuna. Out of so many warriors, he was like very, very brave warrior. And he used to be the king of tribe of Hyas. So if you really start searching on the map, you'll find that tribes living now in Caucasus Mountains, and they're all warriors. So the Chechens, Dagestans, it's a part of former Soviet Union, but they used to fight and they used to be mercenary in many, many wars, including in India. So they're very much fighting, nation, the fearless people. So their king, obviously everybody came from ancient land of Bharata, but that ancient land of Bharata was beyond India. It was like more, certain countries were beyond Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, Azerbaijan. And now it's different countries, but they used to be tribes that were Hindus and connected with that culture. And some of them migrate to the north. It's a different story. We'll cover that in another lecture. But it's interestingly that king was very, very arrogant. And he was also disciple of Dattatreya. So he worshipped Dattatreya. If you know Dattatreya, it's the Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu avatar all together. His name is Dattatreya. There are many sadhus in India who worship Dattatreya. So there are like several books in that tradition, such as Avadhut Gita and other Puranas. And Dattatreya followers normally are practicing tantric mystic yoga and certain rituals and worships. And so this Kartavirya Arjuna did a lot of tapasya, a lot of rituals, and a lot of chanting, praying to Dattatreya. So Dattatreya appeared to him and said, what does you want, my friend? And Kartavirya Arjuna, said, hey, I want power of 1,000 hands. I want siddhis, I want immortality, I want this, I want that. Then Dattatreya said, actually, my friend, that's not what really you should be asking as a blessing. Because everything you ask is material. It's not a spiritual thing. You should be asking me liberation or become a better person or go to higher planets for your spiritual perfection. But instead of it, you're asking me all these boons for like power and lust and greed. This will destroy you. But Kshatriya heart is very arrogant. He said, yes, that might be destroy me, but now, for some time, at least I have to be the strongest man in the world. He said, well, let it be. But remember, being the strongest man in the world, one day you'll be challenged by God himself. Oh, I'm ready for it. Okay. Here it is. Now, Kartavirya Arjuna, so much power, so much hands, so much weapons. He's got 1,000 sons. He's become like a king, and he's sending his sons to conquer this way, that way, another way. So it's really, really like bizarre. Like, armies of his armies are hustling different kingdoms and tell them, well, you have to pay to us. You have to bow down to our father. Our father's like God. So that was like his ego. But, one time on his travel, he visited Jadamagni ashram. And he got very, very nice reception with his ministers and his sons, because in that ashram they had celestial cow named Kamadhenu from higher planets. And that cow produced all kind of milk, food, ghee. Like, you could ask her anything, like, can I have sandesh? She's like, okay. Like, you have sweets. And like, how about milk with turmeric and honey? She's like, okay, you got it. Then like, hey, I really like, cheese. She's like, what kind of cheese would you like, sir? Swiss cheese, Parmesan cheese, paneer. You're like, I like to have paneer, please. Paneer dosa. She's like, here it is. So then for the sage, it was no problem to feed as many guests as he could, because his cow can produce as much as beautiful milky food. And when Kshatriyas saw that, they thought, well, we don't have that. That Brahmana, that sage, has more power than us, because he has this unique cow. She can give any food you want. But everything I've said, it's kind of wrong, because Jadamagni was very, very austere person. So his idea was, he's got this celestial cow to get the milk and milk product for his sacrifices. And he took the remnants of sacrifices as a prasadam and give it to his sons and families and other people. So it wasn't the cow to fulfill the desires of the Kshatriyas. It was a spiritual cow to fulfill spiritual need of the sage. Hey, what happened? What happened was the Kshatriyas felt very much greed and lust, and finally they have stolen the cow, and eventually they kill Jadamagni by beheading him and carry his hand with him. So they took head of a sage. So when Parshurama came back with his brothers, he saw like his mother crying and his beheaded father body, and like no cow, and it's been stolen. Immediately he said to his brothers, please take care of my mom and let me finish these guys myself. So he's taken his shield, his axe, he's very famous with axe, and his bow, and by himself he attacked Kartavirya Arjuna. And Kartavirya Arjuna was very much afraid, because he knew he'd done something wrong. He killed the Brahmana. But now he see Brahmana's son with mad dreadlocks, with black skin and shield and arrow coming. And he thought, this Brahmana must be a great warrior. So he starts sending his army. He told his general, all right, I'll stay in the back. You go kill this boy. And at the beginning, they thought, hey, there's one person and we have a whole army, so what's the fear? But when Parshuram started fighting, he started shooting thousands of arrows, and with his axe, he started chopping people. So it says, on the battlefield, Parshuram moved with the speed of mind, and when he would get tired, he would move with speed of wind, delivering death. Just think of this. Like, he's moving with speed of mind. That's why, like, the thousands of warriors, they can't even figure out how they get killed. Because he's like, he's running. He's almost invisible. All you see his axe like chopping everybody in slices, and his arrows, thousands of arrows, and you can't even see his hands. So people even couldn't understand who they get killed by, like who we're fighting with. They can't even see him. That's how fast he ran through battlefield. And finally, Kartavirya Arjuna saw, hey, I need to start fighting myself because I have a blessing from Dattatreya. I have 1,000 hands. So he had 500 bows and 500 arrows. He pierced the arrows and would fight. Just imagine, I'm going to shoot this Brahmin boy with 500 arrows from my 500,000 hands. But one hand carry a bow and one is arrow, and he's like. But what happened is with one bow and mystical arrows, Parashuram destroy all his arrows. And suddenly he jumped in front of Kartavirya Arjuna and chopped his hands off. He said, oh, Dattatreya give you 1,000 hands to punish Brahmanas? Here it is. And slide the head. That was very scary. But in our comics you'll see that battlefield is amazing. And the artist drew this amazingly. So long story short, Parashurama also went to kill all the sons of Jadamagni, because they also tried to destroy his life. And finally, he killed other Kshatriyas many times, over 22 times, all over the world. He destroyed the Kshatriyas. Why did he do that? Because it was divine will to eliminate all the warriors that was demonic, because they wouldn't do anything good. They would just rob and plant and conquer, and so they would need to be killed, but they were so strong. So the only Parashurama, the divine Brahmana warrior. And finally he ran into Lord Ramachandra, Lord Ram. And Lord Ram said, like, come on, Brahmana. You know who I am, I know who are you. I am the Rama, full avatar, and you Parashurama, my partial avatar. So you want to fight with me? And now you've done your work. I will deal now with the Ravana and all the demons. So your work is finished. And just to give you an example about power of Kartavirya Arjuna, who've been slain by Parashuram. One time Kartavirya Arjuna, met with Ravana. Same Ravana that stole Sita. And Ravana was like, hey, Kartavirya, fight with me, I have 10 heads. And Kartavirya said, hey, dude, I have 1,000 hands. So Kartavirya fight with Ravana, slay him, and kept him in a cage like dog. And then he looked at Ravana and said, hey, you demon, I am demon. Okay, now we understand how strong I am. Open door, go. So that's how strong Kartavirya Arjuna was. So finally, Ramachandra took over the time and millennium, but Parashurama exists as a sadhu, but he opened his fighting school. And that's the same fighting school that Bhishma graduated, same fighting school that Karna graduated, same fighting school that Drona graduated. Therefore, he's an important character in Mahabharata. So in our comic book, because it's Mahabharata, it's a huge story. So we're starting from fight of Parashuram and his disciple Bhishma. It's an interesting guru and disciple. Sometimes they fight, but that fight also has a lot of meaning. So I'll be speaking about that fight next time. But I think it's good enough today to understand that Parashuram, although he's been a great guru of warriors and he's been avatar of Vishnu, but he's also subordinate to Krishna. He's just follow what Krishna wants him to do. So great teacher, great guru is one who surrendered to God, to Krishna, to Vishnu. Without great teacher, nothing can be learned. Even modern science today, or a job where you're going, you have to learn from someone. So as you can understand, spiritual knowledge, it's not a simple material knowledge. You don't learn this in school. Krishna says in the Gita, Tadvidhi pranipatina pariprashnena sevayam upadikshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarsanam. You have to have respect, pranipat pariprashna seva. Respect, inquiry for knowledge, and service. And then you get tattva-darshanam, which means the truth will reveal to you. So you have to try to do your spiritual work, to do your, humanitarian work, serve Lord, serve people, being a good man, developing faith in God, and eventually for performing spiritual activity, learn them from the scripture and guru, and act as a pious person, which means non-violence, no cheating, no bad behavior. Then you'll get qualification to get real spiritual knowledge, which make you enlightenment. So if you have any questions or comments on this story, forgive my English. I speak a very simple English language, a very short way because it's a long story with many names. But I try to be very consistent and carry the message of Mahabharata. And thank you so much. Hare Krishna. I'm Swami Avadhut, your servant and Mahabharata curator. Thank you. Bye.